Hello and welcome back. Now, earlier this year, I was privileged to make a documentary all about immigration and women's safety. It was the brainchild of Peter Whittle, and it was made with the New Culture Forum. And I had the honour of doing quite a few bits of work with Peter over this last year. And I've known Peter for at least 12 years. I remember when he stood as the mayoral candidate for UKIP for London. And I was aware that he wasn't well. And we've had the very, very sad news that he's now passed away, aged 64. I think he was a very special man indeed. Don't take that from me. Let's speak to Dr. Philip Kiszely, Senior Fellow at the New Culture Forum, great friend of this channel. Philip, they don't make them like Peter, do they? He was incredibly unique. He was so erudite and intelligent and loved this country. He was one of the first people to realise that culture was the big battleground in politics. But more than this, my gosh, he just had such a beautiful soul. He was such a lovely man.
Hi, Alex. Yeah, he really was. He was just the nicest person. Probably, the nicest person I've ever met. Yeah. He was like a big brother to me. If I was happy, I'd tell Peter. If I was in trouble, oh God, I'll go to Peter. He'll help me. The New Culture Forum, he just made like a family, and we were all so close there, and we all still are so close. But he was so concerned with what's going on in the world, and he really gave himself over to fighting for what's good and what's just. And he was he did it with such grace and dignity and style. My God, didn't he have style?
Oh my gosh, he had so much style.
He was just I keep coming back to, but he was fun as well. We went on together a few years ago, and it was just laughter all the time. He was just such an amazing friend as well. He was a friend to me personally, but he just seemed to be a friend to hundreds of thousands of people who follow the New Culture Forum and who come to our events and who just constantly want to be close to him and who wanted to be close to him and speak to him. He was just such an amazing man.
He was, and people always think when someone passes away, everyone queues up to say how wonderful they were. But the thing is with Peter, you wouldn't find anybody be able to say a bad word against him, because he was so unique. I can see him right now sitting there thinking, head tilted to one side, lips pursed, as he would do, and just also, do we have a glass of wine? But he understood in a really prescient way, before anybody, I think, when he set up the New Culture Forum 20 years ago, he understood that culture was a massive battleground. And it's always been one of those subject matters that were pushed to one side, or especially turned taboo. You can't talk about the impact of immigration on culture. What are British values? All of these conversations, which now we're having all the time. Peter Whittle was doing it before anybody, because he loved this country. He loved it so much, but it never from Peter came as something that was sort of little Englander or small-minded. Peter was a sort of very worldly, culture-adoring gay man. He wasn't in any way, shape or form some sort of knuckle-dragging brute who wanted the clock to go back 20 years.
No, he'd spent a lifetime in the media. So he was a director and producer on television. He produced the South Bank Show, for example. He wrote culture for the Sunday Times. And he really was a driving force, perhaps the driving force, but what we now understand to be the independent media. He was doing his show. So what you're saying is his interview show was one of the first things on the independent media. And that, in a way, that saved me. I saw that. And I kind of got in touch with him there and then, and it was almost, someone else is saying this stuff, someone else is thinking this stuff, and that's what we get all the time from New Culture Forum. And he was instrumental in setting up what we call New Culture Forum Locals, which is our grassroots movement where everybody comes together. It's a safe space for people to feel as though, it's not just me, I'm not just on my own. That's what he did. He brought people together. But as you say, he was just so sophisticated and worldly and just fun to be with, and he was the center of that that world in Westminster, wasn't he? We'd all go to Tufton Street there and hang out and just be with him. And he made things happen. You know, like you say, you made a documentary film for us, which was just the most amazing thing. You know,
And it was his idea. You know, I've been talking about this subject, but he said to me, come on, Alex, I think we can make a documentary together. And he couldn't have been more patient. So I was busy with work and doing this, that and the other. He had all the time in the world to help me as much as possible, doing brilliant research, making sure that every single thing that was said in that documentary could be stood up. And when I think of, you know, a lot of people who watch Talk will know so many people who have come out of, the New Culture Forum alum, if you will, whether it be Emma Webb, Rafe Hadel-Mancu, Connor Tomlinson. You know, he had this ability to spot talent and bring together some amazing minds who now are out there spreading the word, fighting for this country in the media. And so that is his legacy. He really has been a great change maker when it comes to the national conversation.
Yeah, I think the New Culture Forum has been just so incredibly influential for all of the reasons you say there. It's a kind of incubator for talent. You can throw Charlie Downs especially into that.
Yes, Charlie, yeah.
Of course. So there are so many people, you know, Amy Gallagher, so many people. It did feel like we were a family with just a bunch of people with a massive voice, and that was down to him. He amplified that voice, and he made us talk right, not just to the country, but internationally as well. And I'll just always be so incredibly grateful to the man, because he was just the best of the best. We always say, oh, he was such a lovely, when people die. It's absolutely true. You know, you won't, as you've just said, you won't see a bad word said against him. He was such a lovely man. He was so kind, but he was brave as well, Alex. When he got the news that it was stage 4 and it was terminal, it was when we were having our literary festival. He kind of got to know half an hour before, then went on stage and spoke to an audience, okay? And he was working right up until the end, because it was all so important to him. It was about other people. It was about the message. It was about doing good. And for me, that is just the caliber of the man. He was just outstanding in every way. And, you know, I think we all loved him.
We did love him. He was so audaciously authentic as well. You know, he had his own sort of sartorial elegance, and the way he spoke and his facial expressions. He was just quintessentially Peter Whittle.
Oh.
If people watching this might think, well, I don't know Peter Whittle. I might have heard of the New Culture Forum, or I've heard of some of those other names you've mentioned, because I watch Talk regularly. But if people don't know Peter Whittle, or sort of think, I want to get to know him better, I mean, there's so much stuff you can go onto YouTube and watch. I remember when I did an interview with Andrew Gold on his podcast Heretics, and Andrew said to me, at the end of it, you have to say who your favourite heretic is, and I chose Peter Whittle because he's the original heretic. You know, if people wanted to go back and look at his body of work, so his legacy may live on and resonate, and so people listening to this suddenly think, I need to know this man I'm hearing about. How can they do that?
Well, the best thing to do is to subscribe to the New Culture Forum channel on YouTube, and all his work is there, and it's very well organised. So we've got our documentaries, we've got our weekly shows, which are Newspeak and Deprogrammed, and Peter hosted Newspeak. But you can also sign up to New Culture Forum Locals as well and be part of our grassroots movement, which was Peter's brainchild, and Peter was absolutely passionate about people being able to get together and speak and not feel as though they were alone. So if you'd like to do that, just get in touch with us at locals, newcultureforum@newcultureforum.org.uk. Click subscribe to the YouTube channel. Become a member as well, because that's what will keep us going for just a few pounds a month, and just support us and support his legacy, and have a look at those brilliant videos that he did. If I could just say one that really was amazing, it was his Heresies documentary on London, which just went massive, and just absolutely captured, as only he could. You know, he was so articulate, so eloquent, just captured what was going on at the time. But as you say, Alex, he was just so far ahead of his time. He was doing this before anybody. Concerned before anybody, and he was putting forward that message in such a powerful way, and here we are talking about him and just expressing our love for the man.
Indeed. Oh, Dr. Philip Kiszely, thank you so much for coming on, and Oh, Peter, diminutive man, but has left such a big gap in the national conversation. Such an important man. I love you, Peter. Oh, hiya.
Hello.
Ian, sorry, I'm glad you're here.